Good evening, everyone. Rick, Camille, everyone at home. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for November 8th. And before we begin our meeting this evening, I'd like to extend on behalf of the board and the Selectmen's office a very special thank you to all of the volunteers, to Felicia Hoffman, to her staff, to everyone who worked tirelessly the weeks prior to the election, the day of the election, the day after the election, to tabulate all the votes, to provide a tremendous environment for the town. And they went off extremely well, and the hours of work that they put in are really a testament to the dedication that they have on behalf of the town. So from us to everyone who put in the time, effort, and energy, thank you. Would you like to add anything else to that?
I hope they all got day after election day off.
Everybody except the town clerk.
Really? Because she looked exhausted.
She hasn't brought up yet.
I'm glad it was Mrs. Hunter that said she looked exhausted.
It's been, I think, she's been here for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I mean, that early voting is great for voters, but it just puts a lot of extra strain on the town clerk and the assistant clerk.
Yes.
Did Mrs. Hoffman told you that 15%?
Right, when I asked her
voted.
last Friday, 15% of Dover, approximately 15% of Dover's voters voted early. And I think we had very high turnout, correct, Mr. Ramsey? About 35% in total?
About 75%.
75%.
Really?
Yes, very high.
Phenomenal.
Very good.
No, I think it was
over
over
60.
3,200
Yeah.
people, and I think that it was the highest turnout, I think Felicia told me, since I think 2010. So they did a lot of work. It was, well, it was rewarded by a super high turnout. I think that's great for,
I wonder if
everybody.
I wonder if it was the questions that, the 3 ballot questions that drove the turnout?
Well,
that one's harder to know.
I
exactly.
know it's really hard to know, but it's great that all that hard work paid off.
Tremendous result, and thank you. Thank you to everyone who worked, and obviously to all the voters who voted. So, well done. So our first order of business this evening is the town report. And actually, we have received everything. Is there anything that we need to do this evening?
Simply to authorize the send-off memo to all the boards and committees, advising them on how to prepare the reports and the deadline for getting them back to the town report committee.
So we can accept a motion to proceed with the town report.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
And
you.
I think we should just remind town department and committee heads that they will be receiving an email to their Dover email address on November 13th, so they should make sure to access that to get the instructions.
Please access your email on November 13th to receive the instructions. Thank you very much, Mrs. Hunter. Next order of business, Mr. Ramsey, to execute the town accountant's employee agreement. Would you give us a little bit of background? And
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. As you recall, the board authorized the appointment of Ms. Kathleen LaPlante at its last meeting and asked me to negotiate an employment agreement with her. You have the draft in front of you that she and I have agreed to. It's subject to your approval, obviously. I think it strikes a balance that's fair to the town as well as to the employee, given her senior executive experience.
is there anything within the agreement in all of your years of experience that's out of line, is out of the ordinary? Is there anything that you would like to draw our attention to?
Well, this is the first employment agreement we've had with the town accountant in my career. So in that sense, it's out of the ordinary. The only deviations in the contract from what she would get without a contract as a new employee is we negotiated a starting sick leave accumulation of 30 days as of July 1st, 15 days prior to July 1st. Normally, you would start with 0. But again, given her senior executive experience, I felt it reasonable to agree to the 30-day base. And also, she's asked for, and I've agreed to recommend 25 days of vacation annually for her, again, based on her senior level of experience. If she were a new employee, she would accrue 15 days over the course of a year. But with 25 years of senior experience as a town accountant, it seemed reasonable to me to agree to that.
30 days, 30 sick days for the period of the contract, or so
30
10
days.
10 per year, or 30?
The way the contract was written, she would start, and forget the 6-month thing, she'll start with 30, and then she'll accumulate a day a month like every other employee, until she maxes out, if she stays here long enough, at 124 days of sick leave that she can accrue.
And then that's, if upon her termination, that gets paid out by the town? No?
Now, there's no sick leave buyback for non-union
Okay,
employees.
all right.
So the days accrue, and the 30 days are for the period of the contract, or for the 30 days per year
30 days to start.
to start?
So then a month later, she would have 31 and 32. A new employee would start with 0, and after a month have 1, and then 2. So that she would start with a base of 30 days that she would not otherwise have as a new employee.
And that reflects her experience,
Her
prior
senior
experience.
Her
Prior
senior
experience.
experience, yes, sir.
Okay. Just, and again, I apologize for the clarification. She has a contract. The 30 days are for the year, each year. Oh, the 30 days for the total contract.
So 30 days are a base,
Yep,
and then each year, each month of her employment,
adds a day.
she adds a day. So normally you would have a 0 base, but because of her
I understand.
employment history.
I understand.
Yeah.
Up to a maximum of 120 days.
124 days like everybody else.
Got it.
So in section 7 of this contract, it says that she will begin her employment with 12 and 1/2 vacation days and 15 sick days?
That's in recognition of the fact that she's here for half a year until the fiscal year starts July 1st.
Okay,
We had originally had language that would be prorated. She wanted numbers, so I said, okay, these are the numbers. So it'd be
Okay.
12 and a half vacation days, January 7th. It would be 25 days, July 1st, for the year.
okay, all right, all right.
It is a little confusing.
Right,
And
right,
either way
right.
you do it, it's still confusing, but that's the
Right.
intention.
Okay, all right. I get it.
It's less confusing now, David.
Right.
Thank you,
Right.
thank you, Mrs. Green. I certainly hope so.
And now, has our audit been completed?
The auditors just left today, so
Some people in that room must be happy.
a lot of us are happy. More importantly, the auditors left happy.
That's even better.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Whether it's actually finished before the new accounts start to not, we're not sure, you know, how the paperwork works.
Right.
But with the understanding that Carol is going to stay and assist as she needs,
Okay.
it'll be a seamless transition in
Okay.
terms of completing the audit
Very
and
nice.
everything else.
Okay, all right. So how long is the overlap with Carol? Or
We
is it
budgeted
as needed? 'Cause
as
I know it's
needed
in the budget.
Up
right.
to 10 weeks of time.
Okay.
So it should be more than ample, particularly, I can't say enough about the qualifications of the employee that you've appointed. I never expected, I have never seen, until Carol Weidman, I'd never seen an accountant coming to us so ready-made with senior experience.
And she also has experience with the audit firm, correct?
Yes.
Right,
And
so that's
they spoke
another-
very highly of
right,
her when I was
right.
doing reference checks.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you.
All right, so then I make a motion that we accept the employment contract of our new town accountant.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramsey, and
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
look forward to hearing from our new town accountant. Third item is to execute the Whiting Road lease agreement, and we've had a chance to read the agreement. No changes in the agreement?
No changes, this is the annual license agreement with Dover Automotive. The terms are the same, the rent is the same.
Read through it, no changes. Would accept a motion to approve the license agreement for 5 Whiting Road.
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. To renew the annual package store and club liquor license. For those of you that don't know, this is an annual process as well. It's the renewal of the liquor license for the Higgins, formerly the Higgins Wine and Spirits, and for the Legion. And I think we've all had a chance to review. There's no changes to this. Everything is the same as it has been in the past. So I would accept a motion to approve both permits.
We even have copies of payment of the license.
Wow.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item is a vote to approve the Dover Development Associates Purchase and Sale Agreement. Mr. Ramsey?
Mr. Chairman, as you recall, back in the spring, Dover Development Associates approached the town with an offer to donate, I think it's 3 parcels of land on Hunt Drive.
Yep.
The selectmen referred the matter to the Conservation Commission, who expressed an enthusiastic desire to have that donation. We've gone through the process. In June, you authorized the survey, the site assessment, and other things. And here we are now, getting ready to close. So in front of you is a packet of documents, the purchase and sale agreement, and a vote prepared by town council for you to affirm this evening, to move us along to a closing, which hopefully will be the end of this month.
That's terrific. Well, thank you very much. This is certainly something that is greatly appreciated. Any questions regarding this,
Yeah.
Mrs. Hunter?
No.
We'll accept a motion.
Well, I think we actually have to,
Actually,
you have to read the vote.
to read the vote
Right.
of our prior meeting.
Nope,
We have
this
to
is,
read the
this is the
prior
meeting tonight.
This is tonight's meeting.
Okay. So do we just, would you like just the ABC, or would you like the whole
The whole
process?
thing you have to do.
To record the vote of the Dover Selectmen at the duly called public meeting, the Dover Board of Selectmen, November 8, 2018. The Dover Board of Selectmen voted as follows with respect to those certain parcels of land located on Hunt Drive in Dover, Massachusetts, identified as Dover Assessor's Parcel 21-058-0, containing approximately 2.03 acres, 21-095 containing approximately 2.0 acres, and 21-065 containing approximately 2.0 acres, collectively referred to as the property. Subsection A, to approve the purchase and sale agreement for the property between Dover Development Associates as seller and the town by and through its Conservation Commission as buyer in the form presented to the Board of Selectmen at its November 8, 2018 meeting, period. Subsection B, to approve deed of the property from Dover Development Associates to the town of Dover by and through its Conservation Commission, substantially in the form presented to the Board of Selectmen at its November 8, 2018 meeting, with final changes to be made by the town administrator in his reasonable discretion consulting with town council, and subsection C, to authorize the town administrator to take all actions on behalf of the Board of Selectmen that are reasonably necessary in the judgment of the town administrator to complete the acquisition of the property, including without limitation signing, closing forms, affidavits, documents, and settlements. Period. By the town of Dover and its Board of Selectmen. Any questions?
No. Second?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Update on the pending new town website. This falls under our IT development, our town technology, infrastructure technology, development technology.
As you know, members of the board, the previous IT fellow, Bill Clark, had initiated this new website, and then he departed for other places. So There was a little bit of a hiatus there while we were scrambling to recruit the new IT person, Diana Piasek. We're now back on track. We just received the work from the vendor preparing the site map, and it's being reviewed now. So we're making a lot of progress, and I'm cautiously optimistic that come the beginning of the new year, we'll have the new website available and rolling out.
So now I know the email system ties into the new website, so when will we all be?
After the new website is rolled out.
Do we have a time frame or no?
That's going to be extremely time intensive to convert all of the emails, in large part because of the archiving requirement. We got to save everything from the old email to the new email for everybody. So that's going to be time intensive. But it'll start right after the website's rolled out.
So what do we need to do to accelerate the archiving process, if anything?
There's nothing we can do. We just have to support our IT department.
Are there more people help? Why is it labor intensive? I guess is my question.
It's
just
the nature of the technology.
Of the technology. I've been through this at work before. So, I mean, the way you could potentially speed it up is to hire another set of hands, but it's just a really manual process. You have to take each mailbox, including mailboxes that, you know, the person's no longer here, but they still need to be archived, and you just run this program to archive them, and you basically watch. It's just the most time-intensive, because I know from work, we have the same issue. It's amazing. It's you know, it's, do you want to, you can throw more human resources at it. That's the only way you could speed it up, because it's just a very time, because you have to wait for each mailbox to populate.
Okay, so how long does it, how many do we have and how long will it take?
It depends on the size of each mailbox. I know it's, right.
Thank you, Mrs. Hunter.
It's an infinite
You're saving
project, or it's a limited project?
Well,
It's
definitely.
well, I
limited,
don't know
because
how
you have
many mailboxes we
mailboxes.
have, but you know, it depends on how many records are in each mailbox.
But this is all knowable, right?
Right, so I can tell you, like at work, we had certain people that had extremely large mailboxes. This one individual, it took a whole day to archive this person's mailbox.
Okay, so if we wanted to understand this process, right, isn't this stuff information that we should have, so we can understand how long it might take and what we might do to hasten the process? Because we're all in love with first class.
Well, which is why we have to remind people to check their
Because they never do.
But, I mean, this is a
know.
physical manual process. Sometimes adding more people doesn't help.
Right, I don't know, I just know it's extremely time consuming, and I just know, because I was really frustrated at work, so
Yeah, no,
so he ran through our email box archiving for me, and it, basically he had one system going archiving while he was doing these.
So maybe we can get an estimate,
Yeah,
I can
And then
work
we-
on that for you, Mr. Sprague.
and then we can decide whether or not.
right,
hands
and
makes-
I agree with, who knows, you can throw another, human resources at, but I don't know what that,
Yeah, right.
right.
Right now, we have not a lot of information.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how many, because I think under municipal law, we can't delete any mailboxes.
We
so
cannot.
It's every person that ever had an
But
email.
it would be nice to know that our Gmail account would be coming in
Right.
2075.
Right, right.
That I can almost assure you, Mr. Sprague.
Did you say
No,
2020?
yeah, no,
75.
75. No,
I have no idea how big this effort is.
You want to make sure you're alive?
I want to have a benefit at some point.
There may be people who are no longer alive. We're still waiting.
Well, you're a youthful man, Mr. Sprague.
Oh, yeah.
I have confidence that you'll see.
This is
Gmail.
clearly not a 2-week effort.
No.
Is this something that we can use our outsource provider to help with?
I'd have to ask that question, Mr. Chairman, and I certainly can.
Be nice to know that if we had somebody who was already on board, that we could assign part of it, some of it, portion of it.
Outsourced.
Outsource,
Yeah.
yeah, we have some. Well, thank you very much. The update on regulatory compliance. I did forward to you my regulatory questions that you asked me to answer as part of the whole process. Did everybody else do that?
Was
I was the
what's,
only one.
You were the only one, I guess.
was this property specific or more generic? I wasn't real clear.
Compliance?
Yeah.
The compliance part that I completed today was audit, all audit related.
Oh, that was the fraud questionnaire.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Only the chairman.
That's,
It came out of a specific issue.
so on the specific matter, I think it was Claybrook Road.
Yep.
So this is the audit one, thank you for doing that, Mr. Chairman, that's taken care
I was
of.
very confused. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So I should
This
have,
compliance matter is regulatory compliance. This is not pertaining to the audit.
Right.
this is a land use question, I believe, that had surfaced some time ago.
Maybe back in August?
My apologies.
It's off and on, yes.
Yeah.
So as substantively, everything is in compliance or in the process of compliance. On the property in question, there are two documents that are not being produced because of a payment dispute between two private parties. It's a civil matter, not for us. What we have, and this is not the first time that this has happened, typically what happens is they come to us later because they need some other kind of approval, and at that time, we get what we need from them in terms of the paperwork. But substantively, all the matters that were in dispute have been cleared up and are in compliance in that particular property location.
Well, that's good to know.
Good.
Yeah, we have a very, very good land use team that rarely misses a trick. And if they miss it the first time, and it's usually not their fault, it's somebody doing work that they haven't sought permission for after some other work has been done. If we don't catch it in the first instance, as I said, we catch it later when we're out there for some other purpose, and we say, what's that?
So that's essentially the enforcement from the compliance standpoint.
Yes.
That's the team.
It's done by the land use folks, yes, and they have a very successful record.
Terrific. Any questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item is the review of the Selectmen's fiscal year 2020 operating budgets. The operating packet was received by the three of us this evening. We will review the packet. At our next meeting, we will review, next meeting of the Board of Selectmen, we'll have a open meeting review that we can ask questions, that we can bring each other up to speed on. At our next televised meeting, we will review each of the questions, go through the order. We'll have an actual roll call like we normally do. And if there are any questions, we can discuss at that point. Anything else anyone would like to add with regards to that?
No, I think that's right.
So the next item of business are the Selectmen updates, the town administrator search. Mrs. Hunter?
So we were working with our search firm, the Collins Center, on a job description. We've had a number of revisions for that job description, trying to segregate the actual description of the job versus policy, practice, and procedures. So I think the Collins Center and I are at a point where we can send that out for the board to look at. We also are in the process of looking to hire a interim town administrator. We put an ad in the MMA, and we also, the Collins Center placed an ad, and to date we have 12 resumes we were supposed to receive. The deadline is the 12th of November, so Monday. Of the 12, there are approximately 4 that are very, very well qualified to assist us in the interim while we try to find the permanent town administrator.
Thank you. And just to remind everyone at home that Mr. Ramsey is with us until 12:28, and we're fortunate enough to find an interim. That person would begin after Mr. Ramsey leaves and would be in place to provide the town with that functionality between the time of Mr. Ramsey's departure on the 28th and until we, as the board, elect to accept somebody that the screening committee has presented. So,
And just to be clear, Mr. Ramsey is not dying. He's going to start. He said, the way he said Mr. Ramsey's departure, he is going to begin a new exciting phase of his life. That was
We hope,
just-
right? We hope.
my apologies,
Retirement is
Mr. Ramsey.
only- It made
felt
it
that
sound
that was-
to
I'll
me as
report
though
back when you call me up for the ribbon cutting for
the
these
ribbon
various
cuttings.
projects.
Rail trail, that's the one, right?
Rail
That
trail,
one and
Rail
the
trail.
Carol.
Carol,
Cuttings,
Yes.
yeah,
ceremonies, parties.
parties.
He's available for all parties.
New administrator, new assistant administrator, Carol, rail trail, and everything else that may come between now and then.
A lot of partying.
It's a lot of partying. No. My apologies if you thought that I was.
Well, it just, to me, and the tone of your voice, it's like,
Yeah, it was very solemn.
right, it was really solemn. I just had to say he was going to continue to be with us on this earth.
And apparently had multiple ribbon cuttings.
Yeah.
Right.
We're just beginning the holiday season, so there's going to be more announcements to that effect later in the evening. Mr. Springett, would you like to bring us up to date on Carol?
Sure.
Thank you.
We have actually initiated the project. But before I go into that phase, I just want to take a minute and say we've added to our stakeholder group. So we have representatives from Park and Rec and COA. We have representatives from the Dover Foundation. We have representatives from Dover Mothers Association. And we have representatives from the high school. We continue to look for people from Chickering PTO, and we have some leads that we are chasing down, and Positive. And we have
Great.
leads that we are following. So if we round that group out, I think it would represent a substantial portion of Dover, which is really good. So to get going on the project, we divided the core 7 people into 2 teams. One team is starting to take a look at current uses at Carroll and interviewing people from a programs perspective, and then we'll take a look at town space needs. The other group is looking at what we need to do to get our hands around all the information around Carroll so that we can put together a cost of fully renovating Carroll. And then once we get through that, you know, probably in December, we'll start to also visit other town community centers to start to get a sense of what other towns have done, what programs they offer through those facilities, what their costs were to build, et cetera. So I'm very excited that we finally got that project up and running.
Has the core group met with the on-site insight representatives?
Oh, so 2 things. So the first meeting of the group will be, I think it's December 5th. Just
My birthday.
Happy
Just
birthday.
right.
Wow.
So I'll make sure that you're invited and you can bring birthday cake.
Okay.
It's my birthday. I only eat birthday cake.
But we're such a special group of people.
Good luck with that.
The other good news is On-Site Insight is actually on-site doing the work.
On-site and inside.
Inside.
Yeah, so I happened to bump into the fellow today who was going around the outside of the building taking a look. I know he's working with Carl, so that is
Okay.
in process.
That's great. Well, thank you. With regard to the rail trail, I'll do the first part, maybe you can fill in the second part, Mrs. Hunter there. We have had ongoing conversation, town council has had an ongoing conversation with the MBTA. We're at a point where we're feeling pretty confident with regards to the cost of insurance, the payment process of insurance. We're waiting for town council to get back to us in the last conversation I had with Stephen on Monday, with regards to the specifics of those contracts and the degree to which everything will be accepted by the MBTA. Is there anything you would like to add to that?
Well, I think that was a similar update to what we had last time around. We did have a really good meeting, I thought, Mr. Ramsey, last Friday, with members of the Dover Greenway, Beals and Thomas, as well as the staff here. So Walter and Craig were at that meeting, and we went through the cost estimates that were presented, and we made some tweaks to those, and they were going to send it back to us. In some of the cost estimates, there were items in phase 1 that really should have gone in phase 2, and then we had moved insurance down to phase 2 and moved that up. Again, the areas of emphasis were that phase 1 allows us to do a really detailed design. From that detailed design, there will be more refinement of the costs in phase 2. We also talked about the Selectmen's willingness to work with the Friends of the Dover Greenway on such items, some of the items that potentially they can get donated in kind versus being part of the estimate. But again, under municipal law, because an entire project needs to be funded up front, we need to figure out how we can ensure getting those commitments in place. If we were to take them out of the project, how can we ensure that they would be there? We also talked about could there be ways in which potentially the Friends might be able to utilize things such as a letter of credit or a bond to fund some of the back end pieces of the project. So all in all, it was a really good meeting. I also got an email from Val Lynn, who was on the Friends, and she had a meeting with Denise Garlick, and there are potentially some grants that the Friends can have access to. So we're going to look into what those grants may be and what potentially they could cover. So I think it's a work in process, and so it was a really good meeting. Certainly Beals and Thomas has a lot of experience with rail trails. They worked on the Holliston Rail Trail. So I think as a vendor, they're going to be extremely helpful to us. And since the Holliston Rail Trail has been in use for almost 5 years now, there's also a lot of information that is available to us on what potential upkeep may be. And I think we had all the right people from the town at the meeting as well. So it was a really good meeting. It lasted approximately 2 hours, and we made a lot of progress.
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
Did I miss anything, Mr. Ramsey?
Mrs. Hunter, you hit it right on the head.
As usual.
Yeah, exactly. While we're on the subject of updates, I would also like to just give the board an update, and Erica is here, and thank her for coming, the chair of warrant. Erica and Bonnie Akins, Kate Canny, Jerry Lane, Karen McTavish, Fred Hammerly, and I we've met twice with regards to the discussion around free cash. And we got a group of people with a lot of experience. We've got a really good group of people who the intent was to begin this discussion get the important topics on the table, get the important topics that the various group felt were important to the town this year, next year, in the future. Erica had met with her committee and a joint meeting with the town of Sherburne's warrant committee. I was able to join her. We had a great discussion with regards to what our warrant committee is considering, what their warrant committee is considering. The subject of free cash came up on a couple of different occasions, and I can tell you that the town of Dover is in a very enviable position with regards to free cash. Our intent of the meeting was to establish a strategy, a process, and some guidelines. There are many of our constituents who would like to know in advance of town meeting what the board's feeling, our board, the warrant committee's opinions are relative to free cash and the guidelines of free cash. How much is too much? What's not enough? We discussed funding, things that should be funded, uses of free cash. We're going to establish some guidelines for use of free cash and funding items like our regional OPEB contribution. We're going to establish a strategy with guidelines. We had great comments from Jerry Lane, Karen McTavish from Warrant Committee, so we're all on the same page. Bonnie Aikens, incredibly helpful. Fred. So we've got a lot of people with a lot of experience, and the intent is to have something prior to town meeting. So one of the things that we talked about is being able to segment the conversation of money that we may be giving, we may be proposing to turn back, to have that at a separate warrant article so it's not the last thing at town meeting. And that was something that I really felt was important. Eric and I had discussed that for almost a year and a half now. So we wouldn't be quite literally waiting until the last hour to determine everything that needed to be done. So if we can segment that, it'll take a big load off of warrant. I think it would allow people to have a very good understanding of what their expectations should be, and we can continue to mitigate any type of increases that other towns have felt with regards to the need to raise property taxes. So we're attempting to accomplish a lot. I feel extremely confident that we've got a great group of people and we're going to make really good progress. Would you like to add anything to that?
Sounds about right.
Thank you. That's the update on free cash, and thank you for the people who have joined this discussion.
So is Bonnie representing the assessors?
No.
Because she's on there anyway?
She's
So Karen then?
Karen.
Okay.
Karen represents
okay.
the assessors, but Bonnie with years of experience and being part of the board, so
Okay.
of the board of assessors. So thank you all for that part. Next item is to vote early closing on Christmas and New Year's Eve.
Both are on a Tuesday, right?
Both are on a Tuesday, and I had proposed at our last meeting that we close at noontime.
Ms. DeShilo, can you tell us what we have historically done?
For Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, it's noon.
It is.
It is, yes.
Okay. Mr. Springer, would you like to propose 11:59?
I think we maybe make a motion to approve the 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. I would accept a motion to approve the 12 o'clock.
Second.
All in,
So moved, second.
so move, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Give you an opportunity. Appointments. To reappoint D. Douglas, Hadley Reynolds, each for a 3-year term expiring June 2021 to the Town Report Committee, and the Board of Fire Engineers to appoint former Selectman Mr. Jim Dolly to a 3-year term expiring June 2021, replacing Peter Smith, whose term expired in 2018. Any discussion?
Oh, I think it's great to get Jim involved again, so.
Does he need to work?
I don't think so,
He
but
does
I
not need the
think,
work.
but I think, it's a great way for him to continue to give back to the town.
It really is. And D. Douglas and Hadley Reynolds, thank you very much. To Jim Dolly, thank you. I know Ford put a lot of time and effort into this process on the Board of Fire Engineers, and the Town Report Committee is a lot of work, so thank you. Thank you all, and with that, I would accept a motion to approve the appointments.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Other business, special licenses. These are the one-day special licenses. I believe I read these the last time.
Yeah, I think it's Robin's turn.
I believe it's Mrs. Hunter's turn.
Here I go.
20
November 10th, a bat mitzvah at Elm Bank. December 1st, a fundraiser at Hale Reservation. December 1st, a holiday open house at Community Cycle. And December 2nd, a birthday party at the Dover Church. All of these have been approved by the police chief, so I make a motion for us to accept them.
Second.
All in favor?
Hey, oh, done.
Done. Can I put a shameless plug into the Community Cycle?
Could we stop you?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost the holidays.
Shameless plug. Wednesday morning at 6 a.m., I taught a spin class at Community Cycle. Nobody was injured.
Actually, there's a big sign up for something. Community Cycle. And yoga.
And yoga, yeah.
Do they go together?
It's right across the hall.
They're right, no, well, after you've cycled, you need to go to yoga to stretch yourself out. Right, so they do.
Wednesday morning, 6 a.m.,
Yeah.
if you're in the neighborhood. Can we turn the music down?
I'm on Walpole Street trying to get through the lights. Well, you kidding?
Camille, Erica, citizens' comments? Anything you'd like to add? Thank you very much both for attending. Are there any other items, Mr. Ramsey, that we need to do? One very important item. We thanked all of the volunteers, all of the people who worked the election tirelessly for 2 weeks. Congratulations to all the elected officials, and congratulations and well done to everybody who ran for office. So, very well done to our representative Denise Garlick, who was reelected, and everyone else on the ballot. I know the ballot initiatives were big draw, as you mentioned, Mr. Ramsey, so well done to all of our staff.
So, Mr. Ramsey, we did forget one tidbit of information from the rail trail meeting. We were told that at Holliston's ribbon cutting, they had a laser show. So we have to top that.
Oh, boy.
A laser show.
Laser show.
Do you remember that?
I do now.
They told us, right?
Wow. Well, without any further ado, I would move to adjourn the meeting at 7. Someone didn't turn the clock back.
8:15.
Yeah. 8:15. 7:15 our time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Rick, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you
Well
all.
done.